Sonic the Hedgehog 4 promises to be incredible and take this franchise to the next level. Can you imagine the insane things that could happen in the Blue Hedgehog's new adventure? King Sonic. At this point, it's clear that Metal Sonic will be in this movie. He appeared in the post-credit scene of the previous film and was referenced in the Sonic 4 teaser, but there's a chance he's actually serving another character who will be the movie's main villain. And the name of that character? King Sonic. That's right, he would also be an evil version of the fastest hedgehog alive. However, while Metal Sonic is a robot, we believe King Sonic will be a version of our beloved Hedgehog from another dimension. And we're not making this up, this character actually exists in the Sonic comics published by Fleetway Editions. But do you know why we think he'll be the movie's villain? The main reason comes from concept art for Sonic 3's post-credits scene. In those versions, instead of finding Amy Rose and the Metal Sonics in a forest, the hero would encounter them after arriving in an apocalyptic version of Earth that seems to be part of another dimension. And that world would be ruled by an evil version of Eggman, whom fans started calling King Eggman online. Even though all of this was scrapped, it's totally possible that these ideas could still be used in Sonic 4, maybe with a few changes, especially because the concept art is already all over the internet, so people probably wouldn't be that shocked if King Eggman showed up in the movie. But what if King Eggman gets replaced by King Sonic instead? He would be an evil version of the Blue Hedgehog who forced the Dr. Robotnik of his world to create an army of Metal Sonics to take over the planet. Now that would be a twist that would leave everyone speechless. Pretty crazy, right? And we still have a lot more to talk about when it comes to Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Amy the Traitor. You know what's starting. It's another awesome Cinewave! Amy Rose is going to be a very important character in this new movie, with the title itself even using the color pink to hint at that, not to mention how the entire teaser focused heavily on her and her hammer. So yes, Amy will be the newest ally of Team Sonic, or at least that's what Paramount wants us to think. Maybe the studio is taking advantage of the fact that Amy is one of Sonic's greatest allies in the games to completely shock audiences when she betrays him in the movie and reveals she has secretly been working with Metal Sonic the entire time. That would be a pretty drastic change, but we already know the movies have made several changes to the Sonic franchise, even while staying very faithful in many ways. And that would explain how Amy Rose managed to defeat several Metal Sonics so easily in Sonic 3's post-credits scene. Meanwhile, the fastest hedgehog alive couldn't do anything against them. The Metal Sonics may have simply allowed themselves to be defeated by Amy because the whole thing was staged just to make Sonic start trusting her. Silver. Okay, it's 100% confirmed that Amy and Metal Sonic will appear in the franchise's next adventure, but it's possible another character is also being set up to appear here, Silver the Hedgehog. Why? Well, based on what we know about Sonic 4's story, Silver fits perfectly into it. This character first appeared in the 2006 game Sonic the Hedgehog, also known as Sonic 2006, and he's a time traveler from an apocalyptic future who goes back in time to eliminate Sonic because he believes Sonic is the one who will cause the apocalypse, which isn't actually true. And it looks like Sonic 4's plot may follow a very similar direction because of those Sonic 3 concept arts showing an apocalyptic version of Earth, which could either be another dimension or the future itself. So it would make perfect sense for Silver to travel to the Blue Hedgehog's dimension, or time period, and start hunting him down because he thinks Sonic is responsible for what happened. After all, in this version of the story, Silver would come from a world dominated by robots that look like Sonic, so it's not crazy to think the real Sonic was responsible for what happened. Since Silver and Amy Rose would be coming from the same place in this version of the story, they could have some kind of connection, maybe as former allies or even siblings. And even though that would be very different from the games, it could still be a welcome change. Chaos. We've been thinking so much about who the villains of this movie could be that we haven't stopped to ask another question. Which villains will be introduced in this film to become threats in future movies? And we'll tell you right now that one of our biggest bets is Chaos, the antagonist from Sonic Adventure. As the cinematic universe of the fastest hedgehog alive keeps expanding, it's obvious that each new movie will tease the next enemies who are going to appear, just like Metal Sonic showed up in the third movie's post-credits scene. And it would make perfect sense for Chaos to appear at the end of Sonic 4. In the game, game, Chaos is a type of entity that was sealed inside the Master Emerald and grows stronger by absorbing the emeralds. Once he absorbs all of them, he doesn't just gain a super transformation like Sonic, he evolves into a monstrous new life form called Perfect Chaos. The Sonic 4 teaser basically confirmed that the Chaos Emeralds will play an important role in the story because of how heavily it focused on the artifacts. And what if, in order to defeat Metal Sonic at the end of the movie, they have to do something that ends up releasing chaos? In fact, we may even know who could voice the character, Ben Kingsley, whose involvement in the movie has already been confirmed, but whose role still hasn't been revealed. What is Paramount hiding? And if you also think it would be awesome to see Chaos appear in Sonic 4, why not comment down below with #Chaos? Wow. Mario crossover. We're living in the era of video game movie adaptations, and the proof of that is the fact that, over the past few years, we've gotten 3 Sonic movies and 2 Super Mario movies, all of them becoming huge hits. But what if, with all of this happening, the 2 most iconic rivals in gaming history finally crossed paths in Sonic 4? After all, like we already mentioned, this movie's story will most likely involve other dimensions, so it's totally possible that the Blue Hedgehog could end up meeting the Mushroom Kingdom's plumber while traveling through other dimensions. It could just be a funny little scene of the 2 talking and teasing each other before Sonic continues his journey, which would already make fans of both franchises incredibly happy. On top of that, this could also serve as a test for the studios behind these movies, Paramount for Sonic and Illumination for Super Mario. If audiences reacted really well to the scene, it could convince them to team up and develop a Super Smash Bros. Movie, the game franchise that brings together characters from tons of different gaming universes. Corrupted Sonic. In the games, Metal Sonic was built by Dr. Robotnik to be the perfect rival for the fastest hedgehog alive. But since the new movie will involve alternate dimensions or timelines, it has the chance to give him a much darker origin story, where Metal Sonic was once a real Sonic from another dimension who got transformed into a robot. That might sound way too crazy to actually happen, but if it does, it wouldn't come out of nowhere. In the Sonic comics, there's an entire storyline where Metal Sonic spreads a technological virus that starts turning multiple characters into robots, including Sonic himself. What if that idea inspired the movie version, where a Sonic from another reality became infected by this virus, slowly transforming into a mechanical being until nothing of the original Sonic remained? Sonic's grandfather. Video game movies have the unique opportunity to explore parts of the lore that the games themselves never fully developed, and it's possible that the Sonic films are preparing to do exactly that with Sonic's origins, since the very first movie made it clear that he doesn't know what he really is, or why he's been able to run so fast ever since he was a kid. That's why we believe one of Sonic's ancestors will appear in Sonic 4, or rather, we'll discover that someone who already appeared in the franchise is actually related to Sonic. And if you haven't figured it out already, we're talking about Shadow the Hedgehog. Yes, as bizarre as it sounds, there's a huge chance it could be revealed that Shadow is Sonic's grandfather or something along those lines. There are several reasons why this theory makes sense. First of all, there aren't any other super fast hedgehogs left on Mobius besides Sonic. Meanwhile, Shadow is another alien hedgehog with super speed. The difference is that he's at least 50 years old and crash landed on Earth without his memories, so he wouldn't even remember if he had a child in the past. What's interesting is that his origin is completely different in the games. In Sonic Adventure 2, it's said that he was artificially created by Gerald Robotnik, but Sonic the Hedgehog 3 felt the need to change that and make Shadow come from outer space with a much more mysterious background. Maybe because they want to explore his story further in future movies. Since he's at least 50 years old, he's old enough to be Sonic's grandfather or even a more distant ancestor. And if Sonic ever discovers that, we can be sure he's going to think it's insanely weird. Amy, the savior. It would definitely be shocking if Amy Rose were revealed to be a traitor, but if she truly is a hero, then she'll absolutely be essential to saving the world. Besides apparently having experience fighting Metal Sonics, it also seems like her weapon, the Pico Pico Hammer, will have the ability to allow travel between dimensions or timelines. In the teaser, we can see the hammer creating cracks in the air before opening some kind of portal. So if there's anyone capable of saving everyone in this movie, it's Amy Rose. She's the only one who could do something like trap Metal Sonic inside his original dimension, or close a portal connecting the two worlds and bringing enemies from there into Sonic's reality. And if you're not subscribed yet, you know what to do. Click and hit the bell so you don't miss any videos. Super Knuckles. So far, we've seen 3 transformations caused by the Chaos Emeralds in the movies: Super Sonic, Super Shadow, and Emerald Eggman. But what if the next transformation ends up being Super Knuckles? Knuckles is one of the few other characters who has used the Chaos Emeralds to transform in the games. Instead of turning gold like Sonic, he becomes pink, and his design is so awesome that this ended up becoming one of the favorite transformations among many fans, even though it has only appeared a few times in the games. Would you like to see this transformation in live action? Planet Mobius. In the Sonic games and comics, the story mainly takes place on planet Mobius, where the blue hedgehog and almost every other character come from. Meanwhile, the movies mostly happen on Earth, since Sonic moved here as a child in this version of the story. But what if that changes starting with Sonic 4? Ever since the first movie, a lot of fans have wanted Sonic to permanently move to Mobius so that his future adventures can finally take place there. And maybe that's exactly what will happen in Sonic 4, with the blue hedgehog realizing that Tom and Maddie, his human parents, will always be in danger as long as he stays nearby, and that the only way to protect them is by returning to his own world. It would be an amazing way to show that Sonic is becoming more mature, while also creating the perfect opportunity to tell stories that stay even more faithful to the games in this movie and the future ones. It's almost over, but until then, you can stay with us. There are 2 super fun videos waiting for you. Thanks, and see you next time.